Hi, I'm Paul Williams from Shrink24. In this video, we're going to cover the contacts module in Nordic-IT's Mark5 form. So, as you see, I've already got it running. Let's click on it. Okay, so I'm in the Documents module right now. I'm going to click on the Contacts module, and here we're in Contacts. At this resolution, it's kind of stuffed, so let's rearrange the layout. This is about what the default layout should look like when you first open it. You can see most of these windows have X's in the corner, meaning they can be closed, except for this one, which is the parent to all the other windows. What we're going to do, I don't actually use links or link details very often in the contacts module, so let's dock them within the companies, which is actually the object list here. We're going to dock them within the object list over here and create tabs on the bottom. So I'm going to click on links, click, hold on its header, and I'm going to drag. Now the snap icons appear, and if I go to the center of the object list and the center icon here and let go, it's going to create a tab down at the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing with link details. Click, hold, drag, and let go in the center here. And you'll see it's created three tabs here. So companies, I'm going to click, hold, drag to, so it's just the first icon, the first tab in this object list. So as you can see, we can select a company and then view the links for that company or the link details for that company. So we still have access to them, but they're not taking up too much room. Now that the layout's a bit less crowded, let's have a look at creating a new company. So I'm going to go up to Create Person here, and underneath it, you see a little drop-down box here. I'm going to click here, and there's Create Company. So okay, so we're going to call this new company Test Corp, and its short ID will be TST. We're going to add a post address to it, so I'll start with the country here, make it a Canadian company. The city will be Montreal. The area will be Quebec. The zip will actually be a postal code. And the address. Okay, there we go. So now we have an address entered. Under communication details, we can put several email addresses. I'll put two just to show you. So we'll go with, the first one will be support@testcorp.com. The second one will be, let's say, info@testcorp.com. You notice the MARC address is preferable here. I'm just going to ignore that for now. So we have two addresses. How's the system going to know which email address we want to send to if we say send an email to TestCorp? You can right-click on any of the addresses that you've typed in and select Mark as preferable address. And what that'll do is it tells the system that out of the email addresses, this is the one that you want to use by default. So down at the bottom, there's a couple of other details here. What's the preferable comms type? Do you prefer to contact them by fax? I mean, I think very few people do these days, but it's an option if you want to. Under primary person here, since we don't have any people in this company yet, we can't create a primary person yet. Categories is something you can edit in the settings. Right now I've got two categories in here, so we could set this up to say anything actually. We could say it's an operations company or a chartering or what have you, just by adding. We can actually have several if we want to as well. These categories can be anything. Okay. And the responsible person is the person within the company that's responsible for keeping it up to date, but we don't have to set one if we don't want to. The icon in the corner here, if you click on it, creates a small box that actually floats on top of other windows, which will allow you to drag things like other emails or what have you from within Mark5 and associate them with this company. So let's click on OK. And now we have Test Corp. So let's create a department for Test Corp. So I'm going to do a right click on this. And now it's going to show me all the options for this object, the object being Test Corp. These are all the things I can do to it or with it. So I'm going to click on Add New Department here. And we're going to call our new department Ops. I'm not going to bother with the details there. I'm just going to put in Ops at testcorp.com. There we go. And let's create another one. We'll call it chartering. So right click again, add new department. I'll call this chartering. We'll make its email address chart at Testcorp. Okay. And there we go. So now we've created a company and we've added 2 departments to it. Now let's add a person to it. So I'll create a operations person. So I'm going to click on ops, do a right click, add new person. So this person, their name's going to be Bill Williams. Short ID is going to be Bill W. So we could put all the standard information in there we want to. I'll just put an email address for now. Bill at testcorp.com. You could actually add an image of them if you had one. So if you right click on image data here and go load, it'll bring you into a standard folder explorer for your operating system. You can root around, find the image you want, click on open, and then it's associated with this person. So I'm going to click on OK. There we go. So now Bill Williams is in operations of Testcorp. Now, if I wanted to move him, let's say he's now in chartering within the same company though. I'm going to click and hold on his name and then drag it. And you notice that green arrow. I let go. It says, do you want to move him? Yes. Bill Williams is now in chartering. If he doesn't work for Testcorp anymore, I can do a right click on him, unemploy from contact. I can delete him, of course, as well, but unemploy from contact. The other thing we can do is we can set him as the primary person for Testcorp. Now that there are actual people in Testcorp, we could set him as the primary if we wanted to. So let's just leave that for now. One of the things I should probably show you is the categories. So let's go into settings up here, show settings. You'll notice the settings panel has automatically opened the contacts tab because we launched it from contacts. So we're going to click on edit categories up here. There's already 2 categories that exist. If you want to edit them or add more, it's very easy. Just click on edit or add. Let's add another one. We'll call it brokers, for example. And we'll make the color red. And we'll click on OK. So now we have 3 different categories. These are within contacts, of course. You can create whole other categories for documents if you want to, and then assign them as you like. A quick word while we're in the module setting here before we leave, just so I don't have to immediately come back. You'll notice here it says default contact list search type contains. There's 2 options here. If I click the drop down, there's starts with or contains. Now by default, when you first fire it up, it's going to be starts with. In other words, if you're searching for a company called Shink24 and you type in SHI, it's going to show you everything that starts with SHI. If you set this to contains, then it's a search for anywhere within the word. So I could type in 24, and I would still have a hit with Shink24, or INC, like ink, and Shink would still be a hit. Personally, I think contains is more useful, especially if you don't know exactly how the company's name was written out or what have you. So I usually leave it at contains. So let's click on OK. We're back over here. So now that we've created that new category, we can assign it to Bill here. Just do a right click on Bill, go category, and go brokers, and there he is. Categories you can actually assign multiples of. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So for example, if you had several different categories you wanted to put a person in, you could. And that's all searchable. Okay, let's try now to go into the documents module here, and we're going to create a new contact from an inbound email. So let's say this person here is a contact of mine. Any email address you see in a header like this, you can click on, and it will show you the full email address here. This is particularly useful if you have a to address that's particularly long and you can't see all the addresses. You can click, and they'll all be listed down here. Now, if you right-click on the address you want, and then go Add Client, New Person, you can also add it to an existing person or create a new department or company. But we're going to create a new person. Here we go. So it brings us into the Create Contact. I'm going to call this person Frank Reynolds. Whoops. Having some typing issues. Frank Reynolds. There we go. So it's already added in the email address for me, of course, and I click on OK. So now we have a person called Frank Reynolds not associated with any company. I'm going to click on Contacts. I'm going to go back over there. And we're going to find Frank, and we're going to assign Frank to Testcorp. So we're going to click on Persons up here. Now here's our list of people so far. This list could be huge, so let's assume it's not, but let's assume it is. Like if I scroll through, you'll see Frank's actually down at the bottom there. But if it was a huge list, we could come into name up here and do a filter. So I'm going to type Frank, or I could have just typed FR, and the two Franks we have here have shown up. So I'm going to click on Frank Reynolds. Here he is. This gives us the details about him. I'm going to right click on him, and I'm going to go Add Existing Company. So what company would we like to add him to? Well, we'd like to add him to Test Corp. So I'll just say Test. Do we mean Test Corp? Yes, we do. Okay. And so now Frank is in Test Corp. Currently, he's not in either chartering or ops, but we can click and hold on him and move him into, let's say, chartering. And there he is. Before we hop into searching, let's have a quick look at filtering. What we did before by typing in the name header here is we created a very simple filter. Now you'll notice it's giving you a definition of the filter here. We're saying contains name Frank. If we click on Edit Filter, we can create a much more elaborate filter if we want to. Click on AND here, and it'll show you the, we could create an AND or an OR, not, add conditions, etc. I'm going to click on the plus here to add another AND. So what we're looking for right now is name contains Frank. I'm going to click on the parentheses here for see what options I have. And company contains, there's lots of other options here, equals, not equals, greater than, is blank. But I'm going to say contains, and then we're going to say corp, because he's in test corp. So I'm going to click on OK here. And you'll notice Frank is now the only hit because Frank is the only person whose name has Frank in it, and his company has the word corp in it. So let's have a look at searching now. So we'll just close this and go into. So when search first opens up, you'll notice it opens up to contacts because we launched it from the contacts. We can search for a company or a department or a person. Let's go for just a department at the moment. We know we have an operations department, so let's just go name ops and nothing else. Search. So he's telling us here that there's a company called Test Corp and it has an ops. Is that what you mean? So I could click on OK here and it would just bring us out. But let's refine the search. I click on search. It brings us back to what we already just built. And I can go company and go, let's go Shink. And do we want to add anything else to it? I don't think so. There's lots of options here. You can search for, first name, last name. Obviously that only applies if you're looking for a person. Short ID, categories, all this thing. If you're doing searches and you find that you're not getting any results, you might want to hit reset down here. You may have something set in a funky way, and that will reset everything to a default search of just blank. So let's search for Shink under all these things. Let's see what results we get. So we get 2 results, 2 companies with Shink in the name. Click on OK. And now you'll see, of course, we have the search results saved underneath the search, same as before. So if I click here, you'll see that I can, oops, the last one I just did was this one, that I've searched for these 2 companies, and it'll show me the details down here. Next, let's have a look at the access rights. If you create a company or a person that you don't want everyone to have access to, let's go into persons, and let's do a filter for Frank. So Frank here, we don't want everyone to have access to him. If we click on the gold key up here for access rights, or we right-click on him and go access rights, you'll see that right now he's actually set to custom. So right now, anyone in the support department or anyone, anyone in this list, which only includes me, would be allowed to see him. We can set him to private, which means only I am allowed to see it, or we can set it to everyone. You can also, under custom, you can also create some other things by individually adding people here or adding other departments, removing some departments, etc. And by doing that, you're blocking access to it. So it won't come up in searches that other people do if you've removed that person from their rights. Next, let's look at adding or removing someone from a shortcode list. If we go back to companies, because more often than not, it's an entire company you're adding. Let's break the filter here. Let's go to hot dot shipping here, do a right click on it, and we're going to go to quick shortcode. Now this is going to pop up. This is the list of all the shortcodes that currently exist, and these are the shortcodes that Hotshot Shipping is currently in, which is none. So if we want to add that company to Cape and HandyMax here, we can go add to shortcodes, and they're both there. I held down Control, by the way, just to select the different ones here. If you hold down Shift, you'll get all the ones in the middle. And to remove them is just as easy. You just click on the right-hand side over here, click on Remove from Shortcode, and now he's only in Cape. I'll just remove him from Cape as well. Hit the X in the corner. So adding or removing a company from the shortcode list is actually pretty straightforward from here. And one last thing. If you have a large list of contacts from another program, like maybe an export from Outlook, for example, you can go into Contacts here, go to Import Contacts, and depending on the format, you may have to tweak it a bit, but you can actually import large amounts of data, from a comma-separated values file. And that wraps up the contacts video. I hope you found it helpful. The next video in the series is going to cover the shortcode module, so I'll see you there.